overcrowded conditions under which our people are forced to live eliminates all chances for a normal life, a clean life, or a healthy life. Because our children grow up in this overcrowded atmosphere, the lack of much-needed privacy destroys their sense of shame. It lowers their moral standards and leaves them exposed to every form of indecency and vice imaginable. Our young girls, our daughters, our baby sisters become unwed mothers before they are hardly out of their teens. Our community has thousands of unmarried mothers, mothers who have no hope of ever getting a husband. And our community has tens of thousands of little babies who have no father to act as their provider or protector. In fact, the only provider many of our children know is the white welfare agent or the white social worker. Many of our children actually mistake the welfare agent or the white social worker for their father. And oftentimes this is true. The overcrowded homes of our community force us to live under some of the worst sanitary conditions imaginable. It becomes almost impossible to practice the rules of good hygiene. And therefore, tuberculosis, syphilis, gonorrhea, and other destructive social diseases are on the rampage throughout our community. Our people in the Negro community are trapped in a vicious cycle of ignorance, poverty, disease, sickness, and death. There seems to be no way out, no way of escape. The wealthy, educated black bourgeoisie, those uppity Negroes who do escape, never reach back and pull the rest of our people out with them. The black masses remain trapped in the slums. And because there seems to be no hope or no other escape, we turn to wine, we turn to whiskey, and we turn to reefers, marijuana, and even to the dreadful needle, heroin, morphine, cocaine, opium, seeking an escape. Many of us turn to crime, stealing, gambling, prostitution, and some of us are used by the white overlords downtown to push dope in the Negro community among our own people. Unemployment and poverty has forced many of our people into a life of crime, but the real criminal is in the city hall downtown, in the State House, and in the White House in Washington, D.C.
Welcome back to the Mental Dialogue Talk Show. I'm your host, Montoya Smith, a.k.a. Black Socrates, along with special guest co-host Janelle King. This morning's discussion question: in America, do blacks play the victim? Again, you heard a cut from Square Business Entertainment, our sponsor, Joe Believes, all day long. Find it on all streaming platforms. As you just heard, a prevalent cut, in my opinion, from Malcolm X that, in my opinion, could apply today just as it did in 1963 when he was making that comment. And if I could just highlight this as a side note, Andre Three Stacks is known for using the word trap in the music hip-hop industry first and foremost, but it's on record now that Malcolm X called the trap first, well before anybody else did, way back in 1963. Again, this is a serious discussion, but just wanted to highlight me being a fan of Malcolm. Shelley, I know we don't have you much longer, so I'm going to start with you. As I listen to Malcolm and some of the things I've heard you say in the first hour, I would offer that some of what Malcolm said sounds like a victim, at least from the way your perspective seems to me. I'm not saying that's correct, but I'm just throwing it out there again, just kind of getting into nuance, that as I listen to Malcolm, does he not sound like maybe one of the victims that you seem to be referring to? Your thoughts, King. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let me get you live. All right, go ahead, Shelley. Go ahead.
The first part of his speech could not be said by anybody African American today without being castigated, without being thrown out, without being disinvited to the barbecue as victim blaming, plain and simple. But then he goes on to explain what's going on in the black community because of these conditions, which is kind of what Robert was saying earlier. So the fact of the matter is like you said,
and let me jump in real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't think I understand you. I think can you explain that first part so that I know exactly what you're saying? That the person, that it would
he
be.
Said it.
I don't want to make the assumption. Yeah,
everything that he said.
Yeah, but I don't know what you're talking about when you say it, so I want to understand you.
I'm not sure what you're asking me. He said it.
So when you said the first part of it, when you said the first part of it would be victim blaming, I don't know what part you're referring to. Like I don't know what that refers to. I don't understand.
I'm talking to the part where he detailed all the problems that exist in the black community that black people can control, and then he went on to discuss those problems that exist are partially due to the other issues that the second part of his speech. I mean, it was clear there's two different parts to what you just clipped. There's a part where he says...
Okay, here's now that I understand what you're saying. Here's what I want to kind of ask on that. So I would think people would big up it, and you're saying that people would not be invited to the barbecue for saying it. I think we can say it, and I would be invited to the barbecue.
Hold on, Montoya. Black conservatives have been saying exactly that first part for the last 15 years. And when we make those statements, when we talk about, say, single-parent households in the black community, we're shouted down. When he talked about the other problems that exist in the black community that are largely self-controlled, then we're shouted down. So I'm saying the first part of Malcolm X's speech that you just played would be largely excoriated by the black intelligentsia or the media